here.
I
I was
was
having
joking.
a door issue. I don't know what I did. I changed something in my little studio and now I can't close my door properly.
Oh, shoot.
So irritating. I hate
That
it.
is irritating.
And I
Super
cannot figure it
irritating.
out. I cannot figure out what I did wrong.
Dan's here. He's early. Okay. I want to tell you something super funny.
Sure.
Just a little bit of chaos. Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Hey,
You're you beat the other guys, but that's okay. We're just gonna talk a little chaos.
great.
Welcome to to Keeping Up with Chaos from the Booth and Beyond. It's like
Thanks.
always chaos. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm gonna tell a little story about how I met Dan because it's like we're gonna have to have a little chuckle over it. But I want to share a little chaos with you guys. So you know how I'm directionally challenged, right? And I
Sure.
literally had this. I mean, like seriously, it's like really bad. So like last night, and I hadn't even had a cocktail because I gave up alcohol. So like last night, I literally was talking to my man babe, and I was like, so wait, so North Carolina, is it below South Carolina or South? Like, how does that? And I was like, or is it South Carolina? And he's like, are you serious right now? Are you literally asking me if North Carolina is below South Carolina? I'm like, yes, I am. And he's just like, oh my God. It was just like a really silly
You should.
moment.
I'm a
You should get back
voiceover
to
actor.
drinking.
I
Go
should
back to
get back to
drinking.
drinking.
No, you got to say I'm a voiceover actor. I am not. Is it a geologist? That's not even the
Yeah,
right word either. What is it?
Jocelyn, you told me specifically to make a cocktail.
I know,
Right,
right?
right.
Cheers. I said that
You did.
alcohol, I said swearing is allowed and bringing cocktails is definitely always welcome. But
Absolutely.
not necessary for the conversation. So, Dan, I'm really happy that you accepted our invitation. I'm glad that you're here.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness.
thank you.
Thank you for having me. I think it'll be fun.
Do you guys have any chaos that you want to share before we get going? And I share my little story. No,
I
Angela.
mean, I like I said, just my door. I was telling her before you got on, Dan, like I made one little tweak in my little studio and now I can't figure out my door is like not shutting properly. So it's really
Uh-oh.
irritating because I can't figure out what I did to make
I
it not
bet
shut.
I bet you there's some foam or something stuck where the hinges are.
It has to be.
Probably.
I thought it was maybe my internet cord, but I moved that out the way and I don't know. Maybe I just need to retighten I think I
It's
might need to
always
retighten
something.
like the
You,
handle or something
I don't know
because
how
it's not, it
tall
keeps
you are, but
popping.
it could even be up higher than you could see it, maybe,
Yeah.
depending on how tall
Maybe.
you are.
But again, like I didn't change anything up there. It was just my little carpet in the way and I moved it out the way and now it won't close right. I think it's my door handle. I think my door handle's like loose or something.
It's
So
Sounds like
always,
it'll require some troubleshooting
yes, without drinking, without
without
drinking.
drinking, yeah.
without drinking.
I know I get
Okay.
a drink and I'm like, I think I just need to put a hole right here.
Yeah.
A
Well,
new hole right here.
I'll give you some chaos.
Yes.
All right, so we recently took my oldest son to grad school in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Ooh.
And just as we were leaving Brooklyn, we're on the Manhattan Bridge.
Oof.
We are 4 cars away from getting off the Manhattan Bridge, and protesters shut down the
Oh,
Manhattan Bridge
wow.
for an
Oh,
hour and a half.
no.
And also the tunnel and like 2 other bridges in the city, and we have a 10-hour drive ahead of us. It
No.
it was annoying,
Oh
to
my
say
That's
the least,
Yeah,
gosh.
that's more
and
than
chaotic
annoying. Yeah,
and and chaotic. I mean,
yeah.
it's New York City.
Yeah.
Helicopters are overhead. The SWAT team is there. The protesters are chaining themselves to the
Oh
street.
my God.
Oh
It was
no.
the whole
Did
deal.
I mean, I might be missing something in this, but is there a reason why they were protesting? Do you know what they were protesting?
Yeah, I don't, obviously we shouldn't get into all of those
Right.
Yeah,
topics
It's one of
necessarily,
those
but
things. Okay.
it's one of those
well,
things.
it's the whole Israel-Palestinian
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gaza, all
Yeah.
of that stuff.
it's
Yeah.
topical.
That's what they were protesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
that is
Which
like, sorry, go ahead. That was like the single worst. That's like number two on my list. Being stuck in an elevator and then being stuck in a car on a bridge, not able
With
to go
protesters?
anywhere. Well, I mean, not necessarily just
Just
stuck on a
being on the bridge.
bridge.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's what we were thankful for. We were thankful we were not stuck in the tunnel.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the third.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be number three. That'd be number
Because
Yeah.
three.
there would be nothing worse than being stuck in had we been stuck in the tunnel,
Yeah.
in the middle of it somewhere without knowing
Right.
at all what was
Oh,
going on and feeling trapped.
Trapped.
That
yeah.
Yeah. Trapped.
that would have been worse. So
Oh
we're
man.
glad that at least we knew what was going on, and that because we were so close, there were people coming out and trying to talk us, hand us their pamphlets and all
Oh
that
wow.
stuff.
Oh yeah.
And of course, I got to speak my piece of my get my
Yeah.
2 cents in, saying like, "Hey, you're solving nothing with
This
this."
is not
Yeah,
helping.
you're making more
Mm-hmm.
problems.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
Man.
hey, again,
Again, yeah.
the whatever their cause, whatever their side of the fence, I feel that everybody has a right to speak
Mm-hmm.
with their
Yes.
minds. That we know we're talking about voices and communicating here.
Yeah.
We all have a right to say what we need to say, but we don't necessarily have a right to uh interfere with other people's lives in that way.
Yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
Being stuck on
Agreed.
a bridge. No, thank you. I have to tell you, I'm gonna switch gears here for a second because
Yeah,
Lloyd's here. Lloyd,
good.
Angela, Dan,
Hi
welcome to the
Lloyd.
party. Welcome to the
All right.
chaos. I have to tell you guys how I met Dan because you guys all know that I was like pedal to the metal in
Yeah.
2023 with my VO career. And I just like threw all the towels in and went for it. I went to VoiceOver Atlanta and opened to the entire experience. And at the last minute, I put my hat in the ring for it was like a contest. It was like a group contest. I didn't
Team
know
challenge.
challenge. I didn't know what I was getting myself into, but I was like, it's free. I'm signing up for it.
Yeah.
And so I was just waiting for the details because it really is a challenge. Like you don't have any information and we don't have to go through all the details, but I ended up recognizing that I had gone to a speaker and I listened on a panel and I thought, "Oh my god, I have not gotten any information." And I started to have a panic. And you guys know me. Like I'm cool, calm and collected until I'm not. And then I'm like, "Ah!" And so all of a sudden I'm like, "Oh my god, what do I do? What do I do?" I'm walking out of the panel and then someone says, "Hey Dan, la la la." And I'm like, "Oh, you're the guy. Like you're the guy. You're heading this up." And so I stopped him and he was like, breathe, like
Nice.
breathe, like instant calm, like, good vibe, karma, just, and I was like, oh my God, okay. And then I made it through it. But do you remember that, Dan? And then later that night, sat at the bar and had a cocktail and laughed about it because I was a mess.
I do remember all of that.
I'm sure you do, yeah.
I do. And it was fun. We call it a challenge for a reason, right?
It was a challenge.
And
It was
but
fun.
I will say, and it's coming up again soon, and we haven't really talked about as far as VO Atlanta goes, we haven't
Yeah,
really gotten specific with all the things as far as promoting it yet, because we usually do that kind of towards the end,
yeah,
of the end of the registration period before the event. But what I can say is that it has built friendships and
yes.
relationships and camaraderie that people, since we started it, I guess it was around I mean, it's been a long time, but the
Hmm.
first 2 incarnations were a little bit different than what it has become.
Yeah,
Right.
So I don't know how far back, but it doesn't matter because the point is that people love it and they
yeah,
form, like I said, these relationships that just have gone on since then and strong bonds, and it's just wonderful.
yeah,
Absolutely.
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 I had a
I say
great
that just
time.
because all of Jaws's like interactions have led to so many different avenues,
Hmm.
not only for her, but for us as well. And we didn't even go to the Atlanta. So it was
Yeah.
really neat that Jaws was able to make so many different connections. And, it really did just apply to so many different things in not only her life, but in ours as well. So it was really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's super fun.
Yeah, and Dan is there, so he's at VoiceOver Atlanta, right? You're gonna be there this year again, and it's happening
I
in March. Yeah,
I think myself and Jeffrey Umberger are the only 2 people that can say we have presented or been involved with VO Atlanta from a presentation, sponsorship, present whatever it is, from some panelist. I think we've been to every single one.
yeah.
We're the only
Wow,
2 people I think that can say that.
wow, that's crazy. That's so I'm really happy that you're here. And you guys also, I coach with Dan too. So I coach with him bi-monthly through my management company, but he also coaches, outside of that as well. And I really wanted to have you on because like you have like a little bit of a different way of coaching, but we don't have to get into coaching just yet. I want to know more about like you and like how you got started in the creative realm. Cause we always know, like all of us agree that there's always like, a story or a jumping off point. And a lot of times you hear different podcasts where they're talking about different things that people have going on in terms of like coaching and mentoring and programs that they have. But I think it's interesting to know about like your behind the scenes, like how you got started, that kind of stuff.
Origin story.
Yes,
Well,
thank you. You said it way better than I did.
I I was born in 1971, uh,
Taking it back.
In Hollywood, Florida. A
Oh,
well, I meant that's I'm not gonna go that far back. I'm totally teasing.
I was here for it
I
though.
know, me too.
I was
I
Yeah, me
was
like,
in
all
too.
it.
right, buckle up,
But
everybody.
I mentioned that because I know Jocelyn's in Florida, so
I
I'm very
am.
familiar with her part of the world. But yes, I was born in 1971 in Hollywood, Florida. I lived in Florida for most of my life up until I was in my 20s. Then by way, and I lived pretty much worked my way up the state and then worked my way out finally
Yeah.
to Georgia. And well, when I lived in Tampa, I got my start in music, and I say my start. I've always worked in music in some capacity since I was in high school. So
Okay.
I've always tried to be around bands and was very much in like uh, my best friend had a band in high school and I was their manager. I wrote diagrams of their stage plots
Oh,
and
that's cool.
yeah, it was, and I didn't even know what I was doing or where that was going to take me. I ended up getting mostly into journalism and photography and
Oh,
marketing stuff. And that's how I
interesting.
ended up in rock and roll because I was doing promo packs and managing my best friend's band in Tampa.
Oh,
So then I ended up learning how to run live sound. When I got the opportunity to do that, I jumped at the opportunity and I was running sound for bands all over Tampa. And
yeah.
some of our final shows there, my band opened for Paula Cole, who was really hot at the time on the streets of downtown Tampa.
Nice.
And so, 20,000 people I'm running sound in front of
Wow.
in the streets of Tampa. It was freaking amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Uh,
Tampa's pretty cool. I like Tampa.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's Sin City.
Yeah.
I worked for 98 Rock there. Uh,
Okay.
I was at Bubba the Love Sponge's very first show on
With the love
98 Rock,
sponge.
and he made the move from the Power Pig or wherever he was before. When he made the move onto 98 Rock, I was there at his very first event,
Oh, wow.
and
nice.
for
That's
a few after that, and it was wild. It was definitely wild.
that's when radio was like, back in the day kind of radio kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah. It's
Wild
not like
radio.
that
Yeah.
anymore.
The wild, wild west radio.
No,
Yeah, yeah. No,
no,
no.
it was slowly getting more and more stodgy as
Good word.
I was in it. That's why I ultimately
Dodgy.
left. They probably couldn't take me anymore.
So you went from like live sound and working with bands and managing bands, and then you were in Georgia. So you went. A lot of people that move from the north down to Florida, if they don't like it, they go half up. So they're called like halfsies, right? So they go up to Georgia, and then you were in Georgia. What were you doing in Georgia?
So I changed radio stations. I went from 98 Rock in Tampa. I went to 96 Rock in it. And
That's tough.
I worked at 96 Rock for a couple of years there. Also worked for Atlanta Sound and Lighting, a production company there.
Oh, wow.
I did some sound there as well, and worked with you name it. All I got to meet and hang with and be backstage with all the rock stars.
That's
Super
cool.
cool.
All
That's cool.
It was so much fun, a very fun time of my life, but I
Yeah.
was working like 70-hour work weeks and it was crazy.
Do you remember anything? Because, it's like a wild time. And like, maybe what was like your favorite artist that just kind of pops out that you worked with?
Oh, well, let's see. Some events that were super cool.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I met my hero, and
Who's that?
that's Eddie Van Halen. So
Cool.
I got a chance to meet Eddie Van Halen.
Cool.
Which, backstage
Yeah.
hanging with him and Michael Anthony, and it was fantastic. I mean,
Yeah.
a day that I I often say, and I even write about this in my book, that it's basically like one of the top 5 happiest days of my entire life.
Awesome.
Wow.
Besides your wedding day and having your children, right? It's up there in the
Right.
top 3.
And
Right.
we won't
What'd you do that made it so memorable? Or
just meeting Eddie Van Halen
just
was
Being
yeah,
there in his
just
presence.
being there in
Oh,
his
it takes-
presence.
because he was like my hero since I was
Yeah.
12
Yeah.
years old.
Yeah.
It was just something that I had actually aspired to doing, just being able to meet him and hang, for the few minutes. And the crazy part about that is I actually met Sammy Hagar
Oh, that's
on
cool.
his first Van Halen tour when I was like 15 years old.
Wow.
That's big for a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It was Eddie who I really wanted to meet at the time, but it was just as cool to meet Sammy, and in retrospect, it was actually better, and here's the reason why. Because when I met Eddie, I was working. It was an interview situation. We were interviewing them backstage. It was
Yeah.
still my dream come true, my fantasy, but when I was 15 years old, 1986, I think I was 15. I met Sammy Hagar in the parking lot of the hotel that they were staying at for the
That's cool.
5150 tour.
Yeah.
Now, my brother and I knew that Van Halen was staying at the hotel, and we were already I was already a big time Van Halen fan all the way.
Yeah.
And we go, and my mom worked at the hotel. That's why we knew that we were
Ah,
there.
insider
So
intel.
cool.
Yeah, she told us, but she was not encouraging us to go down there or anything. In fact, we knew the etiquette. We
Yeah.
knew the etiquette. But nonetheless, we lived nearby, and we just figured if maybe we just passed on through,
Right.
thing might happen because we're teenagers.
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
So naturally, someone sees my brother and says, "Did you just see Sammy Hagar?" And he's go, "No, where?" So they pointed us in the direction, and we run up
That's cool.
behind him. 2 teenage kids running up behind Sammy Hagar, his wife at the time, and their 2-year-old son at the time, Andrew. He's got Andrew up on his shoulders, and us 2 punk kids run up behind him and like, "Hey," and say, "Hey, Sammy." And he turns around, holds out his hand to shake our hands, and is like, "Hey guys, what are you doing here? What's up? How's it going?"
That's cool.
The friendliest, nicest in a situation like everybody else I've met, generally very friendly, very nice, but in a working situation, whereas
Right.
it's just so just the most genuine guy.
That's
No,
cool.
what are you guys doing around here? Oh, well, we live nearby and all that, and then of course, we're two after the whole thing is over. He must have spent it felt like a flash, but I'm certain it was at least 5 to 7 minutes or so that we were
Aw,
talking in the parking lot.
that's
And
Yeah.
cool.
my brother and I are going home. I'm on my skateboard, he's on his bike, and I'm just like, "Man, we should have invited him to dinner."
Mom's
That is
making
so
macaroni
cool.
tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, for the record, your teenage intuition was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
welcome.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Follow that intuition.
yeah.
Super cool.
Anyway, it was a great experience, the whole thing, and since then, like I said, when I've met other people, other experiences that were pretty amazing, I hung out my very first gig with 96 Rock in Atlanta was hanging out with Aerosmith all day
Wow.
for
That's
their
cool.
for their book signing. They
Yeah.
had
Very
So
cool.
cool.
just come out with Walk This Way, and the whole band is there, and there must have been 2,000 people who showed up to this thing, and they signed everybody's book. I mean,
Wow.
everybody,
cool.
from the
Wow.
time that it began till the time that the last person in line, and they were friendly and
Aw,
having fun with everybody, and
that's
that was
cool.
really memorable.
That's
Well,
cool.
widespread panic in the streets of Athens.
Yeah.
120,000 people, I think they estimated, in the streets of Athens, and we're like right up front, near the stage.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
I-
fun.
Wow.
On
That's
awesome.
awesome.
I was on stage with widespread panic at on New Year's Eve. 1998 going to 1999.
Oh,
Jeez.
Wow.
Wow.
That was
that's
Holy
really
cow.
cool.
that
The
was
life you're living, sir.
Yes.
oh,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
oh,
And you remembered it.
that's the life I lived. A lot
Mhm.
changed after
Yeah.
soon after that, because then it was time to have a family and we moved to Asheville and I was no longer in radio, and
Mhm.
I've been in the studio ever since, really. I did do live sound here for the first 7 years or so that I lived in Asheville, and I got to work with some amazing bluegrass musicians and folk artists and some Americana people. Uh, I know, Old Crow Medicine Show, who made Darius Rucker's. They're the backing band, I guess, for Darius Rucker doing Wagon Wheel.
Okay.
Nice.
I worked with them. I worked with just
Oh,
so many amazing people over the years, but it hasn't been like that in a long time. Not as far as, but it's a lifestyle that you just can't really keep up forever.
This
yeah.
is true.
Hard, and what really, it's not so much that you can't keep it up forever, it's that you can't keep it up and maintain a family,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
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 at least not the way you should, in
Yeah.
my
Right.
Right.
in my opinion.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of gave all that up, so that, and once my youngest son was born, basically just said to the club, "I'm going to need more money," and they said, "Well, of course not."
Yeah.
So I was like, "Well, then I guess it's time." And then I left that life behind pretty much for the last 15, 16 years. Yeah.
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 How did you
Yeah.
But
get into voiceover then? Like, did you
Yeah.
get into voiceover first or did you go into audio engineering?
audio engineering first.
Okay, so I thought.
I
So
started
live
audio
sound.
engineering in 1995.
Wow. And that's when you founded your Sound 4VO or no, 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 that's a different.
No, so Sound 4VO became like an official company around 2010 when
Okay,
my first book was coming out.
got it. So then you went from live sound to audio engineering. How did that transition move? How'd you flow into that?
Yeah, so when we moved to Atlanta and I left radio,
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
people leave radio. Uh, my job when I left radio was to manage a studio that specialized in telephony, in voiceover for telephony.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And I met Susan Bennett, who was Siri, the very first Siri, and
Oh,
Super
was
wow.
cool.
in on some of that early technology that they were using to create those voices at the time. I actually put Susan Bennett's studio together in her home, and
Wow.
way back
Wow.
20, gosh, a long ass time ago.
We don't have to, yeah.
It's like a whole lifetime ago. It's crazy.
I know, right?
Ah,
It's so weird how like time is weird, Lloyd, right? Like we always talk about that. Like things, yeah.
I was like,
He
"You're
said
half
it's a
my
whole
age.
lifetime ago. It's
Wait
like
till you
half
get
the
to be
stuff you
my age.
mentioned.
Wait
Oh,
till
yeah. Oh, I was saying you say it's like a whole lifetime ago. Half the stuff you've referenced happened before I was born.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
me too.
You said you were 15 in 1986.
Yeah,
I was
I
being
wasn't even
born.
born.
Like, oh,
Sorry.
New Year's Eve '98. I
Wow.
was 5.
Just when I was growing to like you gals.
I know. Well, and we were talking earlier, and I was like, the life you're living, and yeah, you say that's like a part of your past or whatnot, but it's like in my head, I always think, because the things you do in your life, they kind of transcend,
They
different
stick
things
with you.
transcend,
Yeah.
and every step you take leads you to your next moment, right? So
Mhm.
even if you are leaving radio or you're leaving all those Hollywood stars behind, it transcends into a different moment, and it's created such a life story for you. You're
Mhm.
living an amazing life.
Well, look, and the thing about it is it's not a it's not a slow this or that or a slow ramp up or anything, right? It's a zigzag, and we
Yeah.
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Especially as
Absolutely.
voice actors, the most important thing that I try and encourage my students, especially, is to be able to reflect on anything, right? I can reflect on some of these memories, and it just it makes the hair on my arm stand up because it's so
Totally.
Right.
about, right?
Right.
As voice actors, we need that, and we need that ability to connect with those memories,
Yes.
because remember, people don't have the benefit of seeing all of this when they
Mhm.
hear us. And in order for us to truly connect our message to the people that we are speaking with, we need to be able to connect those on that emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And that's the most important thing
Yeah.
in our job, because otherwise, look, the way our brain works processes emotion before logic. So if on an emotional level we hear something and it's not resonating with us or affecting us in some way emotionally, then the logic of the words doesn't even matter because it doesn't get that far. The listener tunes us out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So we have to connect on that emotional level to make that, to truly make our message be heard, whatever
Yeah.
that message is.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the product, service, or information is. It just matters that we connect on an emotional level.
I would agree with
So
that,
funny.
especially since Siri. So you bring up Siri just really quickly. You bring up Siri just, with all the AI stuff humming, we can talk about that. But go ahead, Lloyd. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say it's just so funny you talk about like reflecting on different things in life because like one thing people in Angela when you were talking about like parts of life transiting whatever one thing people always say, especially like really when it comes to any form of art, is that you have to live like a very full life, but it's funny because a couple of weeks ago, in my day job, my boss knows I don't like my day job. Everybody knows I don't like my day job.
Yeah, we've
And I
addressed that. We've
and
established it.
when I started, I was the youngest person at my job, and that is not the case anymore. And there were two of my coworkers were kind of getting into it over a project, and I was kind of put into somewhat of a supervisory role. And I'm just like, I'm just gonna let them. I'm gonna until I have to step in. I'll let them do this. And when I finally started talking, I was like, holy shit, this is like the like if I were to like go into character work right now, I could totally be the mentor who doesn't really care until they have to be, you know?
Right.
I was
You're
like,
creating a character. Yeah,
I'm just
I
like,
like that.
wow, I guess because of this annoying experience, I've unlocked a role I could play.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
totally. Absolutely.
Any art form,
Yeah.
any art form must be experienced over and over and over again. You have to experience the failure of it. You have to
Mhm.
experience the success of it. You
Mhm.
have to experience how it feels inside. I have to say, I had a moment yesterday. Um, I know, and with my love of Eddie Van Halen and all of this stuff, you would think that I have been playing guitar all my life. And that is not the case. I actually only started playing guitar 3 years ago this month.
Oh wow.
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 Uh, Naturally, when I was 12, I tried to pick it up, but I put it down. Too frustrating, no idea, didn't didn't resonate as far as I went into it with the wrong attitude even, right? Just thinking rock star, not thinking musician and
Hmm.
not
Mhm.
thinking about that side of it, right? Of course, that's what happens when you're 12 and a misguided youth. So
Yeah.
I I put it down and numerous times throughout my life I've had the opportunity to learn to play. But I was really focusing on my craft of being an audio engineer at that point to where it didn't really make sense. But it was always something that, to be perfectly honest, has been a bit of a little insecurity of mine that I didn't know how to play any instruments. And yet here I am working in the music
Right.
Audio.
field
Yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
until getting into voiceover, which that became the main thing. And it also made voiceover a little bit more comfortable because I was a journalism major. I knew how to write. Scripts were not a problem. I was a hospitality major. I knew how to take care of clients and corporate and dealt with corporate people. So when voiceover kind of found me, it made a lot of sense to me because I had that insecurity about not being a musician.
Right.
So
Mhm.
I go into voiceover and it turns out to be an amazing thing and I can apply my skills to that and I get some success at it and turn it into a career that I never expected into a life that I never expected.
Yeah.
But at the same time I've always had this desire to be a musician. and to
Mhm.
finally learn how to play. So now the pandemic happens, and it's kind of like my kids are also now getting old enough to where they're going to be able to take where I don't need to be on top of it. I don't need to drive them around. I don't, right? So
Yeah.
like I can see the writing on the wall that I'm going to have a lot of time on my hands.
Right.
And on
Right.
top of that, I'm singing in bands.
Right.
I'm
That's
thinking to
cool.
myself, yeah, except I'm still bouncing around a lot and jumping around and trying to keep people entertained, but I'm also 50 years old. And
Right.
I'm thinking to myself, I'm getting a little old to be like jumping around
Mosh pitting.
when I'm not singing.
Mm.
Right.
When I'm not singing, I need to be doing something that is not going to allow me to hurt myself.
Right.
Because it's really easy to do at
Right.
this point,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
I'm already pretty, my back is all messed up in many places.
Oh,
So I'm like, okay, it's time to learn how to play guitar.
that's
And
awesome.
so I have dedicated myself to learning to play. I take
Oh,
lessons about once a month, but
Awesome.
mostly I began with apps and YouTube and just buying a guitar that was expensive enough to make it hurt just enough to make sure that I was gonna go ahead and
You need that follow through.
yes. You couldn't quit.
yeah, all new equipment, like, just enough
We
to make
understand that. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Really.
anyway, I've been learning to play guitar, and the best part about learning to play guitar is really, besides the satisfaction of it, because yesterday I had this moment where I played something and it literally brought tears to my eyes, and I don't
Oh,
know.
wow.
It was just like, wow, like that was actually beautiful, and I loved it. And
That's
Love it.
awesome.
Yeah.
I'm working on a song, and I was recording it.
Oh,
So I'm
cool.
so glad that I've got that forever, because that moment where I discovered this thing where a light bulb went on and it was just the hair on my arm stood up and it brought a tear to
I
my
love
eye.
that.
It's like, wow, this was a magic moment, and I'm so fortunate and grateful to have it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
totally.
So it'll
You
probably
connected. You
I did.
connected.
That's right. And that's the thing, right? This is the same feeling that I want everybody to feel when they get it right?
Yes.
When some sort of magic happens, it's this element of, as one of my acting teachers used to say, simple but not easy, right?
I
Because
like
Mm.
that.
the people who are just the best at what they do, they make it look so easy that you would think that,
Yes.
but it's not, and we know that it takes years and years. So the best part about learning to play guitar right now is, in addition to having, I mean, I've been a coach for a long time, but as I haven't really taken the time to teach myself anything new in a while.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly not this challenging.
Hmm.
So to take on the guitar, which is a challenging instrument, as any guitarist will tell you, is kind of a big deal, and I've been able to apply a lot of the things that I'm learning as I'm learning to teaching my
And
students
coaching. Yeah.
and coaching in there, right.
Yeah.
A lot about things, breaking it down into smaller pieces, right? Because you can't learn a guitar solo 42, 60 notes in one go, right? I mean,
Right. No.
I mean,
uh,
if you're a savant, maybe.
right. I mean, it's a very unique individual who can do that sort of thing.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
Uh,
mean, I came into this conversation learning that you were the guy, you know?
The guy.
Maybe it's you. Maybe you could. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. But okay, but Lloyd, let me put it this way, right? Maybe I could, but I'm 3 years in now,
Right.
okay?
Mm.
So it's not like it's happened overnight, and
Right.
that actually makes the point, right? Because
Yeah.
as any overnight sensation will tell you, it took 10 years to become a overnight success,
Yeah.
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that goes back to our talk about experience, which
Yes.
you have to experience these things, but to have a moment like that where it just impacts your own art, impacts you emotionally, is pretty cool. It
That's
hasn't happened
amazing.
to me in
Yeah.
a long, long time, I have to say.
That's
And
Yeah.
pretty cool. And that
So,
kind of goes with voiceover too. You know, with voiceover, it takes a long time. I think I heard you on a podcast where you talk about how it's like a crock pot, right? Like it's
yes.
not in like a microwave, want it right now kind of like that like really
Takes some
resonated with
time.
me. I mean, and I think that we've all figured that out, in the last few years that like we're not going to get anywhere fast in
Right.
voiceover. It's a marathon.
A process. Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
process. It's going to take a while.
The
And you
the metaphor is that it's a crock pot career and not a microwave meal, right?
Yes, yeah.
Because especially since you're all youngins, you're
Not me, but yeah.
you're used to a very fast-moving society, and I can tell you, I mean, we studied this 25 years ago when we were doing radio tests. People's attention span for changing the dial is about 7 seconds, and that hasn't changed. They've
Mhm.
in fact, if anything,
Gotten worse.
I know there was a print I
3
know there was
seconds.
some I know
I was
there
gonna
was
say
a
4.
review recently where they retested this, and it's still hovering around that 6, 7, 8-second mark. So it
Mhm.
hasn't changed much, but if anything, it's probably gotten smaller. The attention span of people, right?
Mhm.
So, this is something that, uh, I it's well known that we have to constantly be
Yeah.
Keeping them in
keeping them
touch.
keep
Yeah.
Yeah.
keeping the
Engaged.
keeping
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
connection going, keeping the engagement going, exactly.
Yeah, you just can't
I
be a
mean,
voice. Yeah.
You can't just this is gonna be the heart of the AI thing, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
humans have heart, and no matter how much if we keep this conversation unedited fully, AI will never duplicate what I'm doing
Mhm.
in another scenario, right?
Right.
However, if you edit this down, you take out all of my hems and haws and likes and you knows, which I try very hard not to do those things anyway because it's not it's just not the best way to communicate.
Right.
It interferes with the message, and and those fillers are unnecessary. But the point is that AI or an edit if you edit it all down, then it will sound a lot more like AI, which is why AI is passable now because we've been editing a lot of voices for 20 some odd years to sound a lot more like AI sounds now, and we haven't focused so much necessarily on the importance of the emotion.
Yeah.
It maybe been a lot more on I just need to have a great voice, right?
Mhm.
They've always said they always say conversational, and believe me, they're saying conversational now. They've been saying conversational for 12 years.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's not as new as people think. It's not the latest trend. Conversational is really best, and it's been the way we've been trying to move it for a long time. Simple and more so now because of AI.
Yeah. Yeah.
Short
I
form things are gonna be the most threatened with AI.
yeah.
Gabby, what were you
I,
gonna
I have
say?
a question.
Yeah.
Since you
Jump
were
in.
working with Siri, did you ever imagine that we would get to this point so quickly? Or did you think it would take us a couple more decades?
Well, I remember being 16 and my mom's car could talk.
Oh.
So,
What kind of
it
car she have?
she had a Nissan. I mean, it said things
Oh.
like, "The door is open." You br
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay.
right?
Oh, okay.
So, I knew this was coming, but the I mean, it hasn't been that fast for me. It's been 20 years. I've been seeing it from the inside.
Yeah.
So it does, it, I will say that now that it's taking off,
Yeah. It's fast.
the launch, it's been a slow progression to get to this point, but I do feel now that social media is completely ingrained in our society, for better
Mm.
or for worse,
Mm-hmm.
that is gonna be a driver of so much moving forward, and it's it it's whatever you think it is, I guess.
I honestly,
Yeah.
like, literally, when you said my mom's car talked, I was thinking about that one show where the car
Knight
talked to the
Rider.
Thank you. I was like,
Exactly where my
my
head went.
brain was like, why? Why
Knight
can't you
Rider.
remember it? Oh my God. So funny. Thank you, Angela. You
You're
saved
welcome.
me.
Do you know the name of the actor who started it? Do you
No, I completely
David
am like,
Hasselhoff.
thank
Yeah.
you. From Baywatch.
Do you
I
know
don't want to say I was a fan, but I knew a little too much.
Baywatch. Yeah.
I heard that in like European nations, David Hasselhoff
He's
is treated like a
huge.
god.
He's
Yeah.
a god. Yeah. I have
Mm.
a friend from Germany, and that's like his go-to guy. And I'm like, you are too young to even know about David. He's like, he's a god. He's a god
Yeah.
in Germany. I was like, okay. So yeah,
So that's so interesting to me.
so weird.
I know it is weird. I have to tell you that with social media, there's one voice that I kept hearing the same voice. It was a guy, but it was like a mixture of tones. So it was like almost like right there that it was like, that sounds like somebody. No, no, it sounds like this person. No, it sounds like this person. And I kept hearing it in all this different social media stuff. And I'm like, what in the hell? And so then I said something to my kids and they're like, that's AI. I'm like, that's an AI. And they're like, "Yeah, that's an AI. That's like the male AI that's like trending right now. It's all over social media." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" But it's like a blend of like multiple voices and it's driving me up the wall. I can't stand it. I'm like, skip, skip. So I'm hoping that like, I mean, we could go off a tangent here, but I'm hoping that that remains that way and that us humans like still sort of stay at the forefront.
Well, that's why it's just super important that we are communicating on an emotional level.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And the thing about this is that it isn't just voice actors either.
No.
Right.
It's regular people. In the last year, I have worked with an accountant. I had no aspirations of being voice actors.
Wow.
I've worked with an accountant. I've worked with a French chef who cooks Japanese food.
Okay. Interesting.
I have worked with a computer guy. In the past, I've worked with a dungeon master, all to improve, all to improve their ability to communicate.
Huh.
Because any field, any field that you're in, to be able to communicate professionally, to be able to communicate effectively,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
to be able to hold the emotions and capture the emotions, the response of the crowd, right?
Yeah.
That's what we want.
Yeah.
My hope is that everybody's gonna leave here feeling really good about the time that we had together, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
I
Yeah.
want as a
Yeah.
guest today, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you equally want everybody that's listening to feel the same way.
Yeah.
So the best thing we can do is be good communicators so that people listen to this show and walk away with a smile.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yes. Like
You know
Absolutely.
they
what?
felt like they were hanging out with a bunch of friends and having a
Yeah, totally.
exactly.
conversation. That's like maybe learned a little something. Go ahead,
You know
Lloyd.
what's
Sorry.
really crazy, and it just came to mind because um you're talking about coaching these people through these things is when we talk about relaying emotions, through how we speak. Like we have conversations with people every single day, and our conversations are infused with emotion at all times, right? So the question becomes, why is it so much harder for people to do that when they're making the explicit effort to do so than when
Hey,
we're just
Just
normally
being.
communicating?
Yeah.
Mm.
you just said it because you're making the explicit effort. The idea, remember, behind simple but not easy
Yes.
is that you need to get to a place where it's not an effort.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And it's not an effort if you can emotionally connect with the intentions of the thing that you are communicating.
Yeah. I like that. That's like
Mm.
Crazy.
drop the mic kind of info right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, if only I'm listening back to the way I said it, and I didn't say it exactly right, so I'll have to rephrase it and be a little, I'll have to put the words in the right order, but yes, it's the my intention was there, Jocelyn,
Yeah,
so
I
thank
got that. I felt it.
Yes.
I felt it. I felt
Here's the
it.
mic dropping.
Thank you.
There it is.
He will push you though. Like the first time I worked with Dan, I was like, it was like a workout, and I was literally sweating, like not joking. I was literally sweating. It was a real workout, and he will if you step up to the mic and you say, "I just want to be me," which is what I said in our last workout, and he's like, "But you didn't do it," and I was like, "Yes, I did." He's like, "No, you didn't," and you don't realize like what Lloyd is saying. Why can't we just we have
Naturally.
emotions and connect
Mhm.
with people all the time. Why is it you step up to the mic and then you become this la 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 la, like
Right.
why?
Well,
Stop it.
because they're not your words, first of all.
That's true.
Yes.
They're not your words. They're not your thoughts. They're not your story. Why would you
Yeah,
actually? That's the
true.
better question. Why would you expect to be able to do that? Why?
Right.
There's no reason why you should expect to be able to do
That
that.
takes the pressure off. Thank you. I feel
You're
so much
welcome.
better.
Well,
Actually, like really, really, like, because I have expectations. I think we all do, right? I think
yeah.
everybody puts expectations on themselves when you step up
Well,
to the mic.
isn't that why
Mhm.
we get training and we learn how to do it?
Yes.
And
Mhm.
isn't that why we try and fail over and over again so that we can just do it better? And
Hmm.
Yes.
ultimately, isn't why we do it because we love it and we'd rather fucking do this than any other goddamn
Oh,
thing?
Yes.
Yes.
Very true.
Because Dan, back to your like aha moment with your guitar, I was doing something and I got booked on a thing. And when I left that gig, my heart was singing. And I was like, I need more of this. Like
Yeah.
that moment that you were talking about where you were like you were having the vibes, like my heart was literally like singing. And I was like, I want to do
Absolutely.
this, more
Mhm.
of this. Anyways, let's answer your question.
Yeah,
Yes, I wanna do more.
totally. Because as I often say, if you don't love this, why are you bothering to
It's
do it?
too hard.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's
It's a lot of work.
too hard. And I I love the endeavors that I take on, whatever they are. The only reason I take them on is because I love them. And the beauty of being the age that I am is that now, with less kind of other responsibility
Hmm.
and less having to worry about other people in the house and so
Yeah.
much
right.
right,
Yeah.
like I feel like there's a freedom, like I feel like I'm about to have a real creative renaissance in my own life, and now I know how to play music, so I am
Watch out, world.
Yeah, look
Yes.
out.
Anything's possible.
no,
Yes.
I'll be honest, it's a little exciting, and especially when you have those moments like I had yesterday, because now I'm really inspired. Like, I couldn't wait to wake up this morning and to the song's not ready for mixing, but I know how to mix, right? So I can just
Yeah.
dive in there and I can lay that out in such a way where it's like, okay, now I'm gonna lay the vocals in and I'm gonna figure out what these vocals are, but at least I can hear it real nice and it's ready to go. And I've got some ideas of where I wanted to go that way, but at the same time, I can focus, right? The bottom line is that feeling sparks and inspires more feelings, right? Of
Yes.
that,
Right.
hopefully.
Hopefully.
And I'm learning a lot about human design and things this last
I
year,
love that for you. Yeah, that's cool.
and it's very interesting. And it really has helped me to learn about following my flow.
Yeah.
Wherever the spark is leading,
Mhm.
I'm I I'm what they call, and I don't mean to get all woo woo. I know some
No,
people.
I love it. Bring it on.
We're here
Bring
for
it
it.
on.
Yeah.
Well,
I got my
look,
selenite crystal right here. Just
I
bring it on. It'll be like
I
our
I
microphone.
this stuff was very foreign to me for the longest time, but, I do as a coach, I feel responsible to my students even that my own mental health be in a good place. So,
Yes.
I go to therapy, do the things to make sure that I'm in a good place, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
So, anyway, in that process, I've learned a little bit about human design, and human design is just a very interesting concept and a very interesting theory of how you were, how what you're meant to do in life.
Yes. Your path. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's your
That's
path.
a whole conversation. That's
It's
like,
a
oh, that's a
whole
whole thing.
conversation, and I am not qualified to talk about it.
But you found your path and you found your
Well,
you're getting to your path.
yes, what I'm finding is that I'm on the start of a path with that,
Good.
but the part about it is that I'm what's called a manifesting generator, according to
Ooh,
Too.
human design.
me too.
Me too, Dan.
Okay, so you know what these so that I mean, if you actually follow these things, then you know these things.
This is
So
like
Yes.
cool. Yeah.
When you know, you know.
when
Yeah.
you know, right? But that's the thing because that spark that hit me
Yes.
yesterday. right? That's the key that says like, oh, you're on the right path.
It's a
You're on
breadcrumb.
breadcrumbs, right? That's what I'm supposed to follow. In
Yes.
the meantime, I'm supposed to just share all that love with everybody else.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
amazing.
So
And you're
that's
not
my path.
that yes,
Mm.
I love that. I'm like right in there. Like I'm right in there. That's
And
awesome.
can I just say, just seeing you glow as you're
Speaking
describing,
about it. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
I
it's
seen it too.
amazing, and I it's contagious, and I want to hear your song.
It's the weird lighting.
I will have to tell you that it's also like, let's just take note that you said, about age and stuff like that. Like we can at any age reinvent ourselves. And if there's
Mhm.
anything that inspires you or anything that was interesting to you back in the day that you didn't have a chance to get to, like, do it now, like
Yeah.
take the time to go for it. I have my own story that could be, yeah, that's relatable to that. And you wonder, oh, I'm too old or I shouldn't do that. And no, just do it, you
Look,
know?
if we've in my lifetime, hopefully, COVID will be the only time that anything like that happens, right? To
Mhm.
where we are shut down. I've
Mhm.
watched my teenage kids live through that. I thank goodness every day that they live through it at a time where they have the technology to reach out to other people. Because
Right.
if it had happened in the 80s, I could just imagine myself sitting in the apartment that I lived in at the time, when I was 12, and sitting there not being able to see or talk to anybody for
Right.
a year. And
Yeah.
Be horrible.
or maybe, certainly on the phone, right? But only one person at a time.
Right.
Right.
Um,
And you were stuck at home, like, you couldn't even walk outside to talk to somebody. Unless
no,
you had a really long
I
cord.
was literally connected to the wall,
Yes.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
definitely.
Yeah, that's a good point.
so if you think about that, and I put all that was just a really big time of reflection. The weather, thankfully, it happened. We shut down in March, right? The weather was really nice.
Yes.
Spent a lot of time outdoors, out in my backyard, being thankful for what I have,
Yeah.
and really trying to just put things in perspective and make decisions about my life. And part of that actually was coaching, because I have been coaching at that point for 10 years, but I wasn't advertising myself as a coach. I wasn't promoting myself as a coach. I wasn't reaching out as a coach to anybody. People were coming to me because they knew my reputation, or they knew me through some of
Word
the
of
other
mouth and stuff. Yeah.
Mhm.
word of mouth and some of the other affiliations that I've had over the years.
Like Voice
Mhm.
Over Atlanta. Yeah.
Yeah, all of those things, right? But I in that time, I'm just like, this is really actually, I love this. This is what I should be leaning into more, because I really enjoy working with people in this way.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's so exciting to me to experience the spark that we talked about, right?
Right.
But also experience it when other people have it,
Yeah.
because
Oh, yeah.
it's actually even more exciting.
Right.
Mhm.
To hear Jocelyn, and you've experienced this with me,
I have.
certainly, where you read something and I ask you how it feels, and it's just kind of like, well, yeah, and it's exactly like that, kind of like whatever,
Yeah.
because kind of like means nothing.
Right.
Mhm.
But then you've read something, the same thing, after you've connected with it, we've talked our way through it, we've gotten to a place, and then wow.
There's a big difference.
I
Yeah.
mean, wow.
Yeah.
Night and day is often
Yes.
how people describe it.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
that if I get that every day, because I'm working with somebody new who gets to experience that for the first time every day,
Yeah.
imagine how cool my life is, right?
Yeah.
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 That
Mhm.
I get to share in that with them. And that's just, it blows my mind that if I can get that spark every day,
Yeah.
I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
You're on your path.
yeah,
You're yeah, I find that like when I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing, then I'm feeling resistance. I don't feel good. But like when I'm doing the things I know I'm supposed to be doing, even if it's scary and I'm like uncomfortable, like I feel better. And I think that, I'm following those breadcrumbs or those sparks is so important. I've said that like a million times. You guys have heard me just say that all the time. But I have to tell you, when you're in your booth by yourself and you're doing an audition and you just hit that audition and you get the goosebumps and you're like, yep, that's it. I'm not going to try to redo this again. I'm just going to like, zip it off and like, and then that's the one you get shortlisted from. So it's
Mhm.
real, like you really connected. So
Sure. And the other side of that too, Jocelyn, is to also remember, even if that happens, it has nothing to do with whether you get the job or not.
yes,
And
Right.
it has nothing to do with your self-worth as a talent.
Mhm.
And that's an important thing to remember because especially if you're new at this, it's a tough road, right? It's
Mhm.
so
a tough
tough.
road. You feel
I
that rejection and all that. And it's just important to remember that hold on to that spark because that's the thing that you're going after. You're doing it for you and because you love it. And if you continue to do it for you and you continue to create that feeling in yourself, other people are going to feel it too.
Yes, and I think anybody under 5 years is considered new in my mind. I'm just like, because like,
Oh, yeah.
really, you don't really make it until like you hit that 5-year mark, which I'm told. And
I
again, yeah,
I would argue even longer, but that's
really. Well, you
there's
guys,
extreme.
I like zip. There goes 60 minutes, and I
Already?
don't.
Jeez.
Yes, I know. I
Oh my
don't want.
God.
I'm the timekeeper. I have to like do my job really quickly. Round table thing. If you this I feel like fits, so I'm like patting myself on the back. If and it has to be quick. That can't be you can't think for like too long. It's got to be like quick. If you had to
Okay.
be stuck in a TV show for a month, which would it be? I'm gonna say Friends because I think it would be
Oh, that's good.
hilarious.
That's good.
I would say I Love Lucy.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
good too.
cute.
This isn't actually a good answer, but the first thing that comes to my mind is the 100. That was literally
Oh.
the first thing that happened in my mind. I was like,
That's
that's
like
not a
alien
good
abduction, isn't it?
no.
Or something of the sort.
It's basically a
Is it like
hundred.
murder?
No, no, no.
No, it's
Okay.
like
Very quick cliff notes. Basically,
Oh no.
nuclear
Here we go.
holocaust happens, people go into space.
okay.
There
Oh,
are
okay.
100 adolescents who are sent down to Earth to see if it's inhabitable. Uh Come to find out
Oh.
it's been inhabitable for decades and there were people who were still living on Earth and so much happens. But
Oh my
Okay.
God.
I'm
That
gonna have to
says
watch that one because
okay.
that's
All
not what
right.
I thought it was about.
Angela.
I thought it was
And
about alien abduction.
Angela.
no.
Angela, what show would you? We're quick
Uh
round table. Or
um
we're going. You
I
got
don't
2
know. I
seconds.
had some random ones in my head, but I'll just go with In Living Color. It's a comedy sketch show, so I'm all about
Okay.
good laughter. So I'll just take that.
I
Well,
like that. Dan?
well, first of all, I'm going to thank Angela, Lloyd, and Gabby because Gabriella, I
Gabby.
see,
Gabby.
Okay, Gabby,
Gabby.
for going first because it gave me time to think.
Right?
Actually, I think Breaking Bad.
That is a good
That's a
one.
Ooh,
good
that's a good
one.
one.
Really?
Yeah, because
Ah,
I think Breaking Bad was one of the best written shows on television ever.
it was great.
Yeah.
It was the one show that had me sitting on the edge of my seat just
Hmm.
when I thought everything could be as possibly bad as it was going to get. It
Yeah.
suddenly, within an instant, got 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It literally made me shoot up out of my seat sometimes that I was like, I cannot believe that just happened.
That's so
So to me, that would be pretty cool. But I was in a TV pilot many years ago too,
Oh wow, that's
Oh.
interesting. That's
Wow.
and
cool.
it never went anywhere, of course. But anyway,
Because you're
it
an
was super
actor too,
fun.
right? You take acting classes and you were acting, or you yes? No?
Well, I don't know. Hopefully, maybe we'll go a couple extra minutes. But
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. This
okay,
is why I bring these things to the table.
so it was 2013, I guess, 2013. And as an audio engineer and voice actor and all that, I knew somebody who was one of the other voice actors I worked with was producing a television show
That's cool.
along with some other guys. And he said, "Oh, dude, you got to come out and audition for this. You're going to be perfect for this, right?" And I'm like, "Okay, but I've never done anything on camera." He's like, "Ah, don't worry about that. You're perfect. Trust me, right?" Anyway, so I auditioned. The guys who I auditioned with did not know who I was. They didn't know that I had any connection to the one of the other guys or anything. He did stayed out of it completely. Anyway, I got the part. And I'm just like, "What? This is crazy."
That's awesome.
Mm.
Anyway, there was a budget of some kind, right? And anyhow, so I'm cast as an audio. I mean, it's typecasting really, except
Yeah.
for the part that I was going deaf. A
Oh.
audio engineer who was basically like AC/DC's road guy from like the 70s, and now he's working at this club. And it's just a club in the Carolinas that they bring big acts in, and it's like a soap opera, a comedy soap opera,
Huh.
very similar to say like Taxi or Cheers, but around this rock club.
Okay.
And I was one of the stars of this pilot, right? So
Wow.
Wow.
anyway, it was 6 to 8 weeks of just total fun, like some of the best time as an adult and that I've had with other adults, right? Just
Yeah.
doing this thing, because
That's saying a
otherwise
lot.
I've been with kids, like all the rest of my adult years, right? So just like it was awesome, super fun. But I realized in that process that I don't know how to act. And at least that's what I'm telling myself. They're saying, "Oh, you're doing great," but I was feeling like I ought to take like a couple classes at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah.
So I started taking it, and I ended up in acting classes for 3, 4 years approximately, and learned a lot and had a good time, but mostly realized that, as you may have noticed, I'm kinda, like, all over the place on camera, and it has to do a lot with voiceover, right? Because I'm kinda emotion follows
Yeah.
motion, right?
It's
So
connecting. Yeah.
you should be using your hands, you should be using your eyebrows and all that stuff, right? So, I'm kinda goofy that way, and I felt that I was very fidgety to be on camera, but now that again that I have some more free time, I actually just re-signed with my on-camera agent and
Cool.
Nice.
Nice.
to
Very
Yeah.
possibly
cool.
go after this again. So we'll see, and I'll try and
Acting.
That's awesome. I love
Yeah,
it.
I'll be more
acting helps
try and
with
be more
voice
skilled.
acting, though. I'm sorry.
It,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
The connecting and the emotion and pulling it. Yeah.
But on-camera acting is so different.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The stillness of it, the
Yeah.
stillness
Mhm.
of it compared to voice acting. You don't have to even
Right.
concern yourself.
Yeah,
You know,
because
I
you
just
can
want to
see it. You can see the person, like on the screen. Go ahead, Angela.
Yeah.
sorry, I was just gonna say I'd like to point out, like, so Dan, you are definitely more of like an educational type of guy. Like, if you feel like you want to change a path or something, you're like, let me get some education before I jump into this. There's
Dude,
people out there who are just like, I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna go for it. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna go for it.
well, yeah, I feel that it's just I mean, again, if I'm gonna take on something, first of all, I don't wanna take it on and do it shitty.
Yes.
Right. Of
The
Yeah.
course. Of
Right.
course.
training.
I mean, I would like to at least have said that I put in some effort into this to do it well. I don't necessarily wanna be a I don't expect to be a master at everything. I don't even expect to be a master at anything, really,
Right.
Mhm.
right? But at least if I'm gonna do something and commit to something that I love, at least I wanna do that well.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
And
Absolutely.
continuously training
A
is like
Yeah.
important too. Yeah.
absolutely, and just the undertaking of taking on guitar, for instance, it's for me really because first of all, the most recent on-camera acting was, that was at the time, if I think about it, yeah, wow, that was kinda something new too, right? But the guitar thing, it's just so exciting, and it's like I said, it kinda lights your fire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
You have written 2 books and you're a coach and you're a mentor and you're an audio engineer. I mean, I feel like you're kind of like a triple plus threat, like you do it all. Like you're not just like on one path, you're on multiple paths.
Yeah,
So
there's
you
no
want
acronyms for that, though.
Yeah, I know there's that.
Boss.
You make one
BOSS.
up.
But like share with us let's do the thing. Like share with us like how if someone wanted to coach with you or they wanted to talk to you about mentoring or whether they're whether they're a voice actor on camera or like you had mentioned maybe they're like a businessman or they're a
Totally.
chef.
Look, communication skills moving forward, just being on this program
Podcast,
today
yeah.
shows that we all have an opportunity to be a public speaker at some point in time. And if we're going to get our message across effectively and communicate effectively and emotionally and hold people's attention, then we want to learn how to do that well, right?
Yeah.
So no matter what field you're in, it can benefit you. But certainly as a voice actor, when I've been doing specializing in voice acting now for over 24 years, for going into my 24th year. Certainly that it has been my specialty. But sound the number 4
Oh, Gabby
vo dot
dropped.
oh,
Keep
sound
going.
sound the number 4 vo.com is my website. I've got the blog for sound4vo.com there's all kinds of articles there that it's free information. So I'm not even,
Yeah.
if you don't want to buy anything from me, just go to the blog. There's
Yeah.
articles that I mean, they're still relevant today, and
Yeah.
some of them are reprinted in my latest book.
Yeah.
So
And let's talk about your books.
yeah, so in 2010, Sound Advice, Voiceover from an Audio Engineer's Perspective was published. And just in 2022, I think it was rated one of the top 9 must-reads by Backstage Magazine.
Very
Wow.
cool.
Wow.
Congrats.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you.
cool.
It's really special because it's like a techie book, and yet it has stood the test of time. And that was my hope when I wrote it, in keeping it general enough that the concepts were there that they would always hold true,
Yeah.
and yet and
Not
just
scare us off.
yeah, and also not scare people off, right? And yet specific enough that you would get the information that you need.
Mm,
So that's been out for a while, and like I said, to have a tech book be rated that way, or a tech book rated that way so much later, is really special.
yeah.
And then last year, Zen and the Art of Voiceover came out, and that is really about my coaching style and my process for teaching voiceover. And as I kind of say, it's my handbook or the manual to the class. If you were to work with me, we would be basically diving into many of those concepts that I talk about, breaking scripts down, really getting into the nitty-gritty of the details and the emotions. People are usually, for their first session, especially if they're not very familiar with voiceover, are pretty blown away by just how much goes into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also discovered that a lot of experienced voiceover artists have never been taught these things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's why they often are having difficulty providing different reads. So,
Mm.
in other words, you audition for something and you're asked to deliver 2 takes, and you feel in the moment that you're delivering 2 takes, but then you listen back to that audition 6, 8 weeks later, and you think to yourself, what the hell was I thinking? They sound
Yes.
exactly
Been
alike.
there. I've
Mhm.
been there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I've been there
well,
too.
that's just it. I have ways that solve that problem for
Yes,
you.
you do.
So that's I want to eliminate the frustration, right? Because the idea is to make it simple.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep.
It's not
Right.
easy, but
Nah.
it will be simple. And if you're willing to practice and to work with me on the process, uh, we will get to a place that you will be happy with,
Yeah.
right?
Very cool.
Yeah, for sure. And you'll sweat. And you'll sweat. Let's, Gabby, I'm gonna let you wrap it up for us. Ask the last question.
Actually,
The
sorry,
last
where can I
question?
Of
can I-
course,
where-
Angela's
sorry.
got one more question.
just where can I get those books?
I
On
could-
Amazon? Are they
I
on
could-
Kindle?
I could talk all day about this. I
Yeah.
love this. I love this business. I love this industry. So I could talk all day about it. So don't worry.
We'll put
Yeah,
it in the show notes, Angela.
The,
Oh,
the,
okay, cool.
the books are definitely on my website. Again,
Okay.
sound4vo.com. I think there is one of the titles up on the top is the book or something.
Okay.
like that.
Awesome. Thank you.
Find it.
Go to his website.
Yes, just go to the website.
Go to
Just
my
go to the website.
website.
All right, Gabby.
Yep.
You want to ask the final question?
Yeah, out of everything you've accomplished, what's the one thing you're most proud of?
My boys.
Oh, I love that.
I
I
love
love
that.
that. You know what's funny is that's the exact same answer John gave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a dad
Well,
thing.
Yeah, well, it's funny because the
Same.
stories are similar too.
Yeah.
Look, let me just tell you something about my boys, okay? So, and I feel that this is an accomplishment for me. So, believe me, I'm as proud of myself about it as anything else because I don't know, I guess as a guy, I think I'm different from, say, a gal going into parenthood. I just
Yeah.
so I think I had a different perspective to begin with, maybe. But anyway, the point is that I couldn't be more proud of my sons, and I have every
Aw.
reason to be because my oldest son was student body president,
Oh,
valedictorian, an Eagle Scout, graduated high school and college simultaneously,
oh,
and
wow.
so he got his AA at the same time that he got his high school diploma.
Yeah,
Very
that's
good.
cool.
Then got a free ride to his last 2 years to finish his bachelor's
Wow.
Nice.
here in town at UNC Asheville. And just in January, we moved him. He's always wanted to live in New York, even though he's never lived outside of North Carolina. We took him to New York when he was 9, and I think he went again 2 years later, and the dream was solidified. He's always wanted to live in New York. So we dropped him off in Brooklyn and drove ourselves back to our home in North Carolina without him for the
Yeah.
first time in 21 years.
Wow.
And he is going to become a teacher, a history teacher in New York City.
That's
Oh,
cool.
that's awesome.
Wow.
We
Now
need those.
that's just the oldest one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now the youngest one, okay, the youngest one would have been an Eagle Scout probably, so he made it all the way to life, but then COVID hit, and
Ah,
it really it stole his momentum
Mm.
a lot
in
of
the
kids.
last year.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we were okay with that because he became the drum major of his high school marching band.
Nice.
He's now at Western Carolina University majoring in commercial music production, which is exciting because he'll take over my business someday, probably.
Oh, that's cool.
He is already, as a freshman, one of the top people in his class. He marched in the Pride of the Mountains marching band, which is one of the top, very renowned marching bands in the entire country.
Mm.
That's cool.
And we are about to go to Ireland. The
Wow.
marching band is going to Ireland to march in the St. Patty's Day parade
Oh, that's cool.
in Dublin.
Oh,
Wow.
That's
We are go
amazing.
we are going to go see him march in Ireland at the St.
nice.
Patty's Day
Amazing.
parade, and they're gonna do a presentation at Kilkenny Castle, I guess it is, and so that's what we are in the process of planning for us to go see him do that,
That's so
That's
cool.
which is
amazing.
That's so
just super exciting. As a matter of fact, it happens basically 2 days after VO Atlanta. I get home from
Oh
VO
my
Atlanta,
God.
and
You're
then
gonna be so
Zip right
tired.
over.
Yeah.
yeah.
What did
Man,
you
that's
say?
awesome. That's
When
awesome.
when you said you're not an empty nester, and I was like, did he say he was a bird flinger? Like I was like, or I didn't
A
know what
bird
you
flinger.
you said you were an empty nester, but then you said something cuter like than an
A
empty nester.
a bird launcher.
A
Yes.
bird.
I was
Bird flinger. I think I like bird
Not
flinger better.
not a
Just get
not
out of
a
here.
not a
You're
bird
welcome.
flinger. That's hilarious though.
Bird launcher.
I was like,
Yeah.
what did he say? Bird flinger?
That's awesome, Dan. I feel proud for you. Like
I
your kids are
Yeah,
know.
doing
that's
amazing. That's
amazing.
amazing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm proud. I'm really proud of them, and that was my only real job when I became a parent, was to make sure that I had kids who turned out better than me.
Yeah.
Right.
Right?
Working on
Parenting
that
is
now, sir.
hard. Me too.
Hopefully they will,
Yeah.
well, they already are, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Exactly.
nonetheless,
Parenting is hard for sure. Parenting is
Mhm.
definitely, yeah. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. I really appreciate you
Yes.
being here and
oh my
accepting our
gosh,
invitation.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
it was
super
such a good
fun,
conversation. Thank you. Thank you.
super fun. I had a great time, and